It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. Welcome to the Dep Lewis Show, episode 25. This is your host, Dep Lewis, and today is Sunday, March 26, 2023. Welcome to the show. This is the Dep Lewis Show, the show about video games and more. So welcome. I hope you had a good week out there since we last talked. It's been a pretty good week over here on the Dep Lewis Show. We have kind of a different style of show today. I haven't played too many games this week, but there's a good bit of video game news, and then the Miscellaneous talk section. I got a few things I want to talk about there. So we have a great show for you today. So, we're going to talk a little bit about the games we've been playing. In the middle, we're going to talk some news. We're going to talk about a game that I need to play that I've missed out on for a long time. So talk a little history on that. Talk about some of the games that are coming out, that have come out recently or are coming out soon. And we're going to talk about those in the midsection. Final section, we're going to talk about some books. So we're going to switch up some media discussion. We're going to discuss some books. We have a few of those to talk about. And then we're going to talk about some sports, because that's one of the things we like to talk about in the Miscellaneous talk section. So that's the plan for today. So hope you've been doing great out there. Hope your life's been going wonderful. Hope it's been splendid. Hope it's been terrific. Hope it's been fabulous. Hope it's been, ran out of adjectives there, but I hope it's been great. I think you get the point. So let's get down to it. Let's get into the business. First thing I would like you to do, before continuing to listen, before, getting, another drink, before reheating your coffee, grabbing some breakfast, I want you to follow the Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Like, subscribe, rate, comment, review, turn on notifications, and tell a friend. Email any questions or feedback to DepLewisShow@gmail.com. That email box is open 365, 24/7. Receiving emails from you. Full episodes of the Dep Lewis Show are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Patreon, and more on my Buzzsprout page. Clips of the show are on YouTube and TikTok. And let's talk about some notes from last show. What do I want to recap from last show? I'd like to clear the record. I like to say my Splatfest record. I am 2-2 right now. I might have said 2-3, or I did say 2-3 last episode, being a big dummy. But I am 2-2. There's only been 4 Splatfests so far. The 5th one is coming up, so I'm 2-2. And I'd like to get back on the winning side of things. So we will see how that goes. That comes up in the next, I believe that's this upcoming weekend. And you should have looked that up. But you need to check out for the Splatfest, because I'll definitely be playing that. That's a new objective of mine, is to get into this 5th Splatfest. So we're Team Nessie over here, so I want to remind you of that, Team Nessie. And I meant to look up some Nessie details, but, I'm just slacking over here at the podcast. So I think next weekend I'll be in the midst of playing this Splatfest. So I'll give you some Nessie details. I'll tell you about how Team Nessie's in first, and give you some Splatoon 3 updates, because I haven't played Splatoon 3 in a little while. But I did want to correct my record. I'm 2-2. I'm 500, 50%, and I'd like to move that percentage up. So we will see. All right, so that was one correction from last show. And then another thing from last show that I was talking about were, a great subset of games that I like, roguelikes, and which ones are my favorite from that list. So this is just a real short list. I'm going to build upon this in the future to keep a good running list of games. But these are games like Spelunky, Spelunky 2, Binding of Isaac, Dead Cells, Super Meat Boy, Hades, Cult of the Lamb, a game I'll talk about later in the show that I'm not going to spoil right now. And another one that I've learned that is in this category is Returnal. And Returnal is a PS5, maybe on PC at this point, but it's a PS5 exclusive. You can't play it on Xbox or Switch. And I've been told it's a, it's a roguelike. It's like one of these in this genre. It's a third-person action game, which is a little bit different, but I've heard this game is excellent. I've heard it from, when this game got released, it's excellent, and I've just never really thought about it in this category. So Returnal is something I want to check out at some point. That's on my list, my wish list or to-do list of video gaming things. Returnal you can play on the PS Plus subscription, I believe, or you can buy it. It's a full-price game. I think it's $69.99. But also that game it's been on sale many times, and I should have picked it up. I think it's been down to $20 before. So that's one I just got my eyeballs on, that if I see it go on sale or something, I'm going to pick it up so I can judge it harshly on my favorite list of roguelikes. But we're going to talk about that in later episodes and build upon that and have a list of games in this category that are awesome. There's probably a few I'm leaving out here immediately, but I just wanted to kind of give you an understanding of the games that we're talking about. So those are all great games right there. So that's all the notes I have from last show. So we are going to get into the first section of this show. In the first section of the show, we talk about new games I've been playing. I haven't really played too many new games. I haven't played too many games last week, so I don't have a whole lot to talk about here. But I have had some new video game thoughts since there's been a lot of new video games coming out. And I just want to not set the record straight, but I'm just trying to frame my video game mind over here. So I'm just trying to tell myself I don't need to play every new game that comes out. I can talk about them on this show, which is good enough. And, I need to quit making these gaming purchases so difficult. I don't need to buy every new game that comes out. I just need, I end up buying a lot of games anyways. I can't play them all. I have a lot of games I want to play right now. But there's new stuff coming out all the time, and it's only going to get worse, I guess. So, and let's see. Yeah, I definitely don't. I play a lot of games. I just definitely don't play as much as I used to. But, I've been keeping up with video games and news and releases, for a long time. Probably since I was trying to think back at least since 2007 when the Giant Bombcast started. I think that really got me into video game news and, following the release calendar and things like that. So I've definitely been following the news and information and releases more than ever with doing this show. So that's been a fun outlet to talk about some gaming stuff with. Maybe I don't play as many games or play for many as hours in a sitting anymore, but, I'm playing games and thinking about them a lot. So that's why I'm here doing this Dep Lewis Show and bringing you all the greatest video game thoughts from around the globe. And all my thoughts that go around the globe. So that's what I'm here to tell you. So just some new video gaming thoughts. There's a lot of new stuff coming out. Some things I'm missing out on. I have a maybe want to buy list from this year, and it's already getting pretty big. It has a Resident Evil 4 remake on there. It has Have a Nice Death that just came out. The Metroid Prime remastered. I'd like to try that. Even Octopath Traveler 2, I'd like to try that. So, those are all full price games, minus Have a Nice Death. So, and even the discussion last week about Have a Nice Death, I would like this to be on Xbox or PlayStation at some point, so I can play it on my best console I have. The best console I have with processing power and all that kind of stuff, and use the controller that I like. So maybe it's something I wait on, but I don't know. If it's a really good game, I'd like to play it. I haven't heard the most earth-shattering things about Have a Nice Death. I've heard that that's pretty good, but I don't know if it's going to fall into the category of roguelikes like I talked about a little bit ago. I don't know if it's up to that caliber, but then again, you don't know until you try it. So, I'm just going over my video game thoughts here. I play a lot of games. I was coming to the show being I haven't played any games this week, but I don't really think has to be a huge negative, and that's just what I'm trying to explain here. But we're going to talk about some video games. So there's some things I have played since last week. I played a little bit of Dead Space. I've completed the section with the Weezers, which I am very thankful for. That was a really cool section. It was kind of long. The Weezers were really gross. You had to punch them in the heart, and then they quit, and then they died or whatever. But it was really tough, but really cool. So I'll be getting back into Dead Space. I think that's still I think that is my favorite game of the year right now. But I'm done with the Weezers, so I think I just took a nice little break or breath after that, since that was kind of tough for me. And even there was a lot of 0G sections in that section, and the 0G sections are some of the coolest looking things from that video game. But this part you had to maneuver around a little more, and you have the enemies attacking you while you're flying. They're on the wall. They can run into you, and there was I had to use my stasis to stop this thing from shocking me, and it was really pretty tough. So it really really took a lot of my video gaming skills to complete that. But it's very fun, and I need to keep moving on. I think I'm at least halfway, if not a little bit more than halfway done through the Dead Space remake. It's been really awesome, and I think it is on the top of my Dep Lewis Show best video game of 2023 right now. I believe it is. So that's an ever-changing list, but Dead Space might have a little bit of a lead. I've also learned that you want to use the gun that you want to pick up ammo for. So if you like the plasma cutter or the plasma rifle, you want to use that gun mainly, because you'll be finding more ammo for that on the map. So I've been trying to take this into account, where I had to use that Ripper for a long time, which I really don't like the Ripper, but I've kind of grown to like it a little more since I was forced to use it. But I like using the two plasma weapons the most, so I've been trying to focus on using those so I can get ammo for them. But I don't feel like ammo's been a huge issue in that game. It's not always, always have I don't think you ever have tons of ammo where it's unlimited, but it's not really, I haven't found it too difficult. I'm not playing on a hard difficulty though, but I wonder if there's any way you can ever play Dead Space, besides the mod with, unlimited ammo. That would be kind of cool. I don't know if that's ever like a New Game Plus thing, or I really can't imagine. I guess you could upgrade your weapon for capacity as much as you can. That's probably the only way to do it, which that's probably pretty fun in itself for some runs doing that. So I'm going to get back to the Dead Space next week. And the only other game I played this week is Dead Cells Return to Castlevania DLC. And let's see. Yeah, when I talked about my Dep Lewis shows off video that I recorded for this, I didn't have the volume for the game turned on, so I threw away that Dead Cells, Dep Lewis shows off Dead Cells Return to Castlevania DLC show, but I had the volume turned off in the menu settings, so it wasn't any fault of my capturing or my OBS. I just had the volume turned off from Dead Cells. So I guess the last time I was really into Dead Cells, I was never listening to the sound. I was listening to podcasts or music while I played. So that's why it wasn't immediately apparent, because that's not something, I do that from time to time, but I usually don't, I don't know, it just kind of fooled myself with that, but no problems there with the sound in that game. This game has been very fun. I think I did get to Dracula himself. I don't know if that was the final boss, but I got to this boss and I was kind of kicking his ass and feeling myself, and I'm like, man, I'm really about to beat this. And then at the last quarter of his health, he got really tough and he wiped me out. So I had a really good run. It was over. I was getting into the 20 minutes on my Dead Cells run, and I was just making, every time I'm making sure I go to that castle, the castle outskirts, and that's been really fun. And I love the enemies in that section, and I've got some really powerful weapons myself in that section. It's been really cool. I think my sword was doing 800 DPS, which that was pretty insane. I've got the magic bow now. I had that blueprint and I bought it. So Dead Cells has been really, really fun. I was back to playing it on my Switch a little bit because I was wanting to do some handheld. So this is just going to be another one of those games that I own on multiple consoles and play on multiple consoles from time to time. So Dead Cells Return to Castlevania DLC has been very fun. And I highly recommend it. It's $9.99 to add on to your copy of Dead Cells if you have a copy of Dead Cells. And I'm going to continue playing this. It's going to probably be the main thing I keep playing, along with some Dead Space. And then we're going to see where I go from there. We're talking about these new video game thoughts, so we will see. There's been some new stuff that came out that, we talked about that I want to play at some point, or I might want to play at some point. Resident Evil 4 Remake, Have a Nice Death, Metroid Prime Remastered, Octopath Traveler 2, and then in the midsection, we're going to talk about an old game that I want to purchase and play and have that on the list of things to do. And then we're going to talk about some upcoming games. So there is no shortage of games, so if you want to listen to what's going on in the video game world, you are in the best place to be. And the midsection of this show is going to be exactly where you want to hear it. So we're going to take the very first break of this episode 25 today, and we're going to come back for the midsection of the show. We're going to talk about some news around the video game industry. We're going to talk an old video game that I want to play. We're going to talk about some upcoming releases and the calendar and what's coming out and what you can be playing and clicking your fingers on here in the near future. So please go take a quick break, and we'll be back from the midsection of the Dep Lewis Show, episode 25, in just a minute. Welcome back to the midsection of the Dep Lewis Show, episode 25, where we are smoking on that mid. We're going to talk about some video game news around the video game industry and talk about some releases and some things like that. So this is the heavy video game talk section. So the first thing we're going to talk about is a bit of sad news. I want to say rest in peace to Lance Reddick. I heard Nextlander talk about him this week, and it was very nice. So if you want to hear some talk about Mr. Reddick and his passing away, Nextlander did a great job of that. He was a main character in Destiny, or a beloved character in Destiny. He was also a star of The Wire and John Wick. And a lot of people were sad about this online. There was people in Destiny, doing salutes and having little moments for him. So it was very nice. I was a little bit familiar with Lance Reddick. I think, I've seen the first John Wick. Never seen The Wire, but I've definitely played a lot of Destiny in my day. And this was some big news. A lot of people were talking about this, and I think he was only in his 60s, so I'm just sad. And then, hearing Nextlander talk about it, they did a good job of that. So just wanted to highlight that on this show, since we're talking about video games, and that was one a lot of people were upset about, So very sad when someone passes away. But Destiny has said that he will feature in future Destiny content still, so you don't have to miss him all the way, which is pretty cool. They say there's some performances yet to come from Lance Reddick, so they must have a lot of voice options and things in the stash, and I'm sure they'll be highlighting that in the best way possible. So that's pretty cool. So
that's just a nice, sad thing and a nice thing, and just showing that video games can reach outside of the TV screen and into your heart sometimes. So pretty cool. All right, so we're gonna move on from that. Rest in peace for sure to Lance. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about, or not the last thing. Well, this is a last notice for this. The Nintendo eShop is closing, and this podcast is being recorded on March 26th. It's going to be released on March 26th, and the eShop is closing on Monday, March 27th. So you need to listen to this podcast ASAP, and you need to hear this section right here, and then you need to go to your eShop and buy some new games if you'd like to. There's been a million articles, there's been a million videos, a million recommendations of people making lists of what you should buy before it closes. There's plenty of information out there to go seek. If you want to buy some games, you basically just need to know if you have some spare cash laying around that you want to drop immediately on the eShop. So that's your main thing you got to figure out. And then there's definitely a list of games and all sorts of options for the eShop to go buy on games for your 3DS. So please go check it out if you'd like to. You're not going to have too much time to do so. And, this is just mark a point of history where the eShop closes. You can listen back to this episode years from now and be like, damn, that's when the eShop closed. Pretty sad. So March 27th, it's going to close. So go buy your games. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to say there. Not really. I mean, the only option there is you want to go buy some digital games, because those physical ones, the price is only going to go up and up. So Nintendo eShop closing March 27th. Go buy your games before that. You only have a day left from the show releases, so just know it. All right. So the next game we're going to talk about is a game that could fit into that category we talked about on the top of the show, like my favorite roguelikes, which is a category I hold in high regard. And these games are some of my favorite of all time. And there's been an entry in this catalog, in this category, that I've missed. And the Great Volness recommends this game to the highest level, and it's called Risk of Rain. So I've looked up some history and details on this game to tell you about it, and also, give myself some information on it too. And this is something that I'm going to purchase at some point and play, because Volness says it's just of high quality of those other games and just as fun and addicting, and it's not very pricey. So it's something that I need to check out for sure. So it's $9.99 right now on Xbox, same price on the Nintendo Switch, and I believe it's probably on some more platforms as well. But those are the two I looked up because that's probably where I would consider buying it. This Risk of Rain is a 2013 platform game developed by Hopu. I guess that's it. Hopu Games, and published by Chucklefish, the great Chucklefish. The game was initially made up by a 2-student team from the University of Wisconsin. Man, I can't even read. University of Washington. Using the Game Maker engine, it was funded through Kickstarter before being released on Microsoft Windows in November 2013. So pretty cool. Starts with a small team, becomes a huge hit. Eventually has a sequel, which is very cool and great for them. Volness's opinion on that is the original is better than the sequel. The sequel, it actually changed some things more than you expect, is what I've heard. So, it was just a different game, basically. But Risk of Rain seemingly is the one to play out of these two, and that's the one I'm focusing on and talking about. So, some more information about this. It's an action platformer with roguelike elements, with permanent death as a primary feature. Players will have to play their best to get as far as possible. Fight on a mysterious planet with randomly spawning enemies and bosses, either alone or with 3 friends in online co-op. Hey, online co-op. All right, maybe I definitely have to buy this, and I'm going to try to get Volness to play if that's really the case. That's cool. I'm going to find out where he has it. With over 100 items at your disposal, you will find the tools you need to find the teleporter back home. Discover a myriad of randomly chosen stages from the desolate forest to the frozen tundra. I wonder if the co-op is actually good in this game, because I've tried to play the Spelunky co-op with Volness before, and it was more fun to hand the controller off, take a turn and play instead of having the 2 people on the screen. And that's kind of the case sometimes too with like those new Super Mario Brothers games. Or even sometimes, it's fun messing around on the screen. It's like if you're really trying to play, it's more fun to, play it solo. But, some games do co-op differently, so I wonder if this one is a viable option for co-op in any way. I really don't know. I haven't played this game, so I don't know what to expect all the way. So I will look into that, and I will report back on this show once I find out. But I think I looked this up about this game too. I think it was the developers that said this. The 3 main goals for their game are simple. So I looked those up because that's interesting. I don't know if you always get that kind of information before release. But they said they'd like to design a game that is randomly generated every playthrough to keep replayability high and fresh. They believe time equals difficulty. The higher the in-game time gets, the harder the difficulty gets. keeping a sense of urgency keeps the game exciting. And they said be enjoyable. Regardless of whether you win or lose, no more fussing with complex and non-intuitive gameplay patterns. Players should not blame the game for their loss. So that's pretty cool little insight onto their gaming philosophy. And I think, I do think it sounds like a great game. So it's just something I missed, and I will be playing it sometime in the near future. So you'll hear some more talk about this on the Dep Lewis Show. And go check it out for yourself as well if you never have. It seems like a really cool game. Another game that is coming out in June of this year is Diablo IV. I wanted to talk about this a little bit since I don't know too much about it, and people seem to love this franchise. And there's been a lot of there's been a beta going on for this. There's been, a lot of talk on the internet, a lot of videos, a lot of talk on podcasts about Diablo IV, and seeming like it's going to be a pretty big release. It's an upcoming action role-playing game developed and published by Blizzard Entertainment, and it's the fourth main installment in the Diablo series, obviously based on the name. The game was announced on November 1, 2019 at BlizzCon 2019, and is scheduled for release June 6, 2023. So I believe Street Fighter 6 comes out June 2nd, and Diablo 4 comes out 4 days after. So that's a really, really heavy little time gap there for some big-time video games coming out. Early access beta began for the Diablo 4 3/17 through the 19th. This beta will be available to all players on the 24th. I think it ran through the 24th through 26th. So by this time this show is out and released, there might be a little bit of time left in this, but probably not too much. So you probably already enjoyed the beta. This is, some back-of-the-box, quote, this ultimate action RPG experience with endless evil to slaughter, countless abilities to master, nightmarish dungeons, and legendary loot. Embark on the campaign solo or with friends through beautifully dark settings, or explore a shared world where players can meet in towns to trade, team up to battle world bosses, or descend into PvP zones to test their skills against other players. The first release of Diablo was January 3rd, 1997. So many moons ago. Diablo 2 was in 2000. Diablo 3 was in 2012. So there hasn't been a main game release in this series for a long time, almost a decade. And there's a few other games in this series, but these are the mainline ones. So looks cool. I saw Nextlander play this. Some of the cutscenes look very gory and bloody, and I am not necessarily always into that. It really just kind of depends on the context, and this game does look very dark and grim, and I guess that's what it's going for, apparently. But it's just like a really washed out, dark tones, like really kind of creepy. And I heard that this was a complaint of the last game, the third one. They tried to make it more colorful and bright, and Diablo fans were not happy with that. So this seems to at least be going back to some more of the core values that the fans of this franchise like, which is cool. But I don't know if this is something I'm going to play. I'm going to definitely be checking into this, and I'm obviously not going to be able to miss the news and other people talking about this because it's a big deal. So just wanted to talk about it a little bit on this show. We might get some more information on it before the release, but I just wanted to kind of highlight that that's out there in the world and people are excited. So let's see here. Other March releases to check into. So one we talked about earlier, Have a Nice Death, came out last week on Switch and PC. So that came out March 22nd. It's available now for $24.99. That seems pretty good. I feel like that I haven't looked up reviews, but I feel like it's either like in the 7 to 8 out of 10 range. I haven't heard really, really great things about it, but I haven't heard really anything too negative about it. Resident Evil 4 Remake came out last week as well on 3/24. So, it came out, last week, 2 days ago for $59.99. This is not on Xbox One, so know that. It's on PS5, Xbox Series X and S. It's on PS4 and PC. So there's not a prior gen. You have to have a next gen Xbox console if you want to play this. So just know that out there so you don't get duped. And then the other March release that comes out in 2 days, so this upcoming week, is MLB The Show 23. That game is available on PS5, Xbox Series X, S, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. So the Major League Baseball season starts at the end of next week, or Thursday of next week, and this game comes out a couple days prior. It's got Jazz Chisholm on the cover. I'll probably be playing this some through Game Pass just to see how it is. MLB The Show is a stellar franchise. It is, simulation baseball exactly as you would want, and it's just really cool. They haven't really ever fumbled the MLB The Show game or release, so go play that if you love some baseball. I don't play sports games too often anymore. I sometimes have been playing them to get clips for the show, but still a great release, and a lot of people will be excited to play it, and it's cool. It's on Xbox. It's been on Xbox for just a couple years now, but MLB The Show is always a PlayStation exclusive, so it's cool to see the multi-platformness continue for that game. All right, so we are almost done with the month of March. So we're going to be into April. Some of the April releases that I'm interested in, that could be things that I purchase or, just want to highlight on this show some more or put on my list of things to buy, would be Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores DLC. Comes to PS5 April 19th, 2023. I haven't completed for Horizon Forbidden West, so it's probably not the smartest thing to buy the DLC, but it's something that I'll definitely be looking for information on and checking into. So I wanted to make you aware of that. Also, Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp comes out on Nintendo Switch 4/21/2023. So that's something that I will definitely be checking out on people's thoughts. And I don't know if I'll be playing it right away, but it definitely looks cool. Star Wars Jedi Survivor comes out on PS5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC. So that is a only next-gen only release for this one so far on April 28th, 2023. So a lot of heavy hitters coming early in the year. I have a list of things I've played. I have a list of things that I've missed. Some of those games I'm interested in. I don't know if I'm going to, I think like I talked about in the first section, I'm not going to jump on just buying these games just to buy them. I'm going to wait it out a little bit, have a little patience, play the things I have, and, purchase a new game whenever the heck I want to. So I'm not going to be, indebted to the calendar and the release of things. I usually know what I want to, the games I want to buy on day one. And, if I'm thinking about it too much, I probably can wait on buying the game. It's probably a good way to think about it. So I'm going to try that a little more here on the Dep Lewis Show. So that is just some insight into my thinking here. So that is going to wrap up the mid section of this show. We're done smoking on our mid. We talked about, the passing of Lance Reddick. Rest in peace to him again. The Nintendo eShop closes tomorrow, March 27th. Go buy your games before then. I hope you hear this podcast before then. Tell everyone to listen to this podcast. Like, subscribe, share it, all that kind of stuff before tomorrow because people need to hear it. We did a little highlight session on Risk of Rain, a game that I need to play. An old game that I need to play that I think I would love. We talked about Diablo IV and the upcoming release of that and all the hype. We talked about the final March releases and the things of March that have come out that have been cool in the last week or so. And we talked about the upcoming April releases for 2023. So very exciting. So many video games to play, and good luck playing them all. You'd have to have negative time, I think, to be able to play all the video games. But very, very cool. So we're going to wrap up this midsection. We're going to come back for the final section of this show, the Miscellaneous Talk section. We're going to talk about, I didn't play a lot of games last week, but I finished a book that I've been reading for a little while. I started another book and finished it, so I want to talk about those. And I'm actually on to a third book. It's my third book of 2023 now. So we're going to get into some of that information. We're going to switch it up a little bit and talk about some reading. And then we're going to get into sports, as usual. One of our favorite things to talk about in the Miscellaneous Talk section. So, be prepared. So go take a quick break and come right back for the final section of this show. And I'll be happy to be here. So come back to the final section of Dep Lewis Show, episode 25 in just a minute. Welcome back to the best show that you'll ever know, the Dep Lewis Show, episode 25. This is the final section, the Miscellaneous Talk section. We're going to talk about some books I've been reading, then we're going to talk about some sports. So let's get into the book. So I finished last week Lost Metal, number 7 in the Mistborn Saga by Brandon Sanderson. This book came out in November of last year, and I've been really slacking on reading it. And I finally made a push to finish it, and I really liked it. It had a bittersweet ending. I'm not going to really be spoiling anything about this because you need to go read some, if you want a fun fantasy series to read that's easy to read and fun to get through, and a lot of entries and just really, really cool. Brandon Sanderson has a lot, and this Mistborn Saga is great. Yeah, I said no spoilers, but Sando did it again. I finished this. The first section of the Mistborn trilogy is separate from the second trilogy, so this is the second trilogy. The first trilogy of the Mistborn is The Final Empire, The Well of Ascension, and The Hero of Ages. And then the second trilogy, which is where the Lost Metal is included, is The Alloy of Laws, the first one, Shadows of Self, The Bands of Mourning, and then The Lost Metal. So there's 4 entries in this second Mistborn Saga series. So very, very cool series as a whole. A third series will follow them, which is likely to be released yearly from 2025 to 2027. And then a 4th trilogy is also planned. Brandon Sanderson also released a novella in 2016, Mistborn Secret History. Someone wrote an article last week about Brandon Sanderson, calling him lame. It wasn't really a very informative or useful article, but I think it got a lot of clicks and hits. and then it forced Brandon, or it didn't force him, but he responded to it. So, I guess the article kind of did what it was intended to do, and Sanderson wrote back and said, hey, it's okay if you don't think I'm interesting, but, whatever. So that was just kind of a weird exchange, but he's a big figure, so people are going to hate on you with that kind of stuff. They were trying to say his writing is stupid, but, it's fun. It's, give people a break. Sometimes things are just fun, and you like reading them, and it's not as serious as people like to make it. These books are good, and they're fun, and I feel like they're serving their intended purpose. So very, very cool. Lost Metal was very, very cool. It's Wax and Wayne. They're kind of detectives, and they have powers based on metals in the world, and they're trying to save the world. Is kind of the whole gist of this thing, and the characters are really cool and have good personalities and all sorts of things. So you should go read these series if you'd like to read something cool. So I finished that finally. So that marked the first book of 2023 that I finished. I have a goal on the Goodreads app. I think it's to read 13 books this year. I think I read 10 last year, so it's in the ballpark. So I've had a pretty good start after finishing this. So right after I finished this, I started another book that was gifted to me by a friend, and it was Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. So a pretty great book to talk about and relate to the Dep Lewis Show, since it's involved in the video game world. Last week when I wrote these notes, I said I'm starting to read this. I've been reading a lot already. It's a debut novel by Ernest Cline. It's a 2011 science fiction novel, which I was a little surprised by. I thought this book was older than that, but it makes sense. It makes sense after reading it. The back of the book thing was the story set in dystopia of 2045 follows protagonist Wade Watts on his search for an Easter egg in a worldwide virtual reality game, the discovery of which would lead him to inherit the game's creator's fortune. Yeah, and I finished this book in 5 days. I think it was almost 400 pages, but this was also another quick, fun read. And I really liked all the content in it. There was a lot of cool references. There was a lot of references that I don't get from old movies or old games and stuff, but there was a lot of things I did. It was just very cool. There was like a little bit of a video game kind of history thing in here, which was neat. And this book was good. I liked the ending. I know there's a movie based on this, and there's actually a sequel to this, but I've heard the sequel's not good. But I would definitely recommend this book to anyone, especially if you have an affinity for video games. I was relating to the main character a lot in this, and a lot of the setups and themes of this book were applicable to just real life as well. And they were kind of telling a real life story through a video game world, so it's pretty cool. And I think I think it's a really, really great book. I give it 5 stars on the app. I give The Lost Metal 5 stars, and so it's been good. So I finished 2 books this year on my quest to finish 13, and I'm reading my 3rd book right now, which is something that I purchased last year and just haven't got around to reading, and that is Tom Segura, famous worldwide famous comedian Tom Segura and podcaster. His book is called I Like to Play Alone, Please, and it's some short essays written by Tom. I'm already 75 pages in on this, and it's very funny. This seems like a really quick read, and it's a couple hundred pages, but it's definitely made me laugh while reading, which is very cool and very fun. So I've been enjoying this book, and I'll probably be reading some more of this today, actually. So this one I'll probably finish before next week, so I can tell you some more about Tom's book. And then my next book on my list is the Brandon Sanderson is releasing 4 novels this year, 4 secret novels. The first one is called Something with Tress, so I'm going to read that next on the Kindle. And then his second novel for the year comes out in the next couple of weeks, and I forget the name of that, but I'm going to read that. Those are the 2 next ones on my docket, and then I'm kind of wide open. I've been on I have a friend who's really into reading, and he's recommended a lot of these series to me, and I finally kind of read through all the main ones that he's recommended. So now I'm in a little bit of an open field for what I want to read and what I can read. So we will see. My friend also has a million other recommendations if I need them, but I feel like I'm in a good space where I'm going to maybe try out some different things with what I'm reading. So I'm glad to be making some progress there. I made a little bit less video game progress last week, but I made some reading progress, so it's cool I can come here on this show and talk about that as well, so you can know about the things that I'm into. All right, so the next thing that I'm very into is some sports. We're going to talk about that. The Carolina Panthers, the official team of the Dep Lewis Show, the official NFL team of the Dep Lewis Show. I said, have they had any signings? And yes, they have. We got Adam Thielen. We got DJ Chark. So we got a new DJ in the building. Makes me very, very happy to replace another DJ that I liked a whole lot. And Chark wants to wear number 17. I saw someone on my immediate thing I wrote was, is Jake Delhomme going to let that fly? But then I saw on Twitter this morning that someone brought up Devin Funchess and how he used to rock number 17. So it's obviously not a problem with people wearing Jake Delhomme's number. But and they were hating on Devin Funchess, and he didn't have a long career with the Panthers, but he was pretty successful in his time there. So I don't have any ill will towards Devin Funchess. It didn't really work out like we wanted it to, but definitely want to be hating on him. But I was super happy to see Chark get signed. I really like the way our offense is looking. It looks like the Panthers might be leaning towards Bryce Young from Alabama. So it's going to have Bryce. He'll have Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard. He'll have Hayden Hurst and Ian Thomas. He'll have TMJ, Terrence Marshall Jr. He'll have Laviska Shenault. He'll have Adam Thielen. He'll have DJ Chark. I mean, that's sounding pretty good. And then we still have the draft to add some new players. I think the Panthers still have some cap space. So we're going to see what they're doing out there. I want them to extend Brian Burns. I've been saying that for ages. Extend Brian Burns. It's a great time to do it. And I'm really pretty happy with the direction the Panthers are moving in. I was really upset about the DJ Moore trade, but I really like how the offense is coming together, and I hope that it'll be working out. So we will see. Have a little bit of hope for the Panthers this week. So that's been nice after a few sad weeks. All right, so some more. Let's just go down some more Charlotte sports. Charlotte FC, I went to the game last night, actually. They played the New York Red Bulls. They tied this game 1-1, but it was very close. It was close down to the end. This was the best soccer match that I've been to. It was very fun. The weather was nice. Charlotte had chances late to score and couldn't get it done. They did get the tying goal kind of late, though, so this was tough. New York seemed pretty good for not knowing much about the teams. And I had a great time. There was a lot of people in there. Charlotte was rocking their purple jerseys. And it was just a damn good time. So I think there's another game next weekend. Maybe I'll try to go to that as well. So the Dep Lewis Show is becoming a fan of some Major League Soccer. I paid for a month of, Apple TV Plus, so I can watch the MLS games. So I actually watched some of, Dallas. I think it was Dallas was playing last night. I watched some of them. That was pretty cool. So very, very cool. Go see Charlotte FC if you'd like to. Very fun time. Tickets are a little bit expensive, but I got one right before kind of the game started sort of thing, and it was okay. But, you got to expect to spend a little bit of money on a ticket there. There's a lot of people there, and it's a hot commodity around town. All right, so also another team was so I haven't talked about this since last week. The Charlotte Hornets. I went to a game last Monday night. They played the Pacers in Charlotte, and I went to see this. And my friend who was in Phoenix put a bet down for me. He bet $20 that the Hornets would cover the 1.5 spread, and that the under would hit on 232 points. So I was sitting there at this game. I got my ticket. How much was my ticket? It was like $11. It was $10.55 is what I paid to get into that arena. My friend made the bet for me, and I won $52 on that bet because the Hornets won the game, and they were under 232 points combined. So I won 50-something bucks while I was at the game, at the end. And I also got a free hot dog at this game. So I want to shout out this nice guy. I was going to say a nice young man, but it was this guy. I ordered a hot dog from the concession stand, and it was like it had like tablets that you do your order on. And this guy it was a little confusing. He happened to put his card in the terminal on my ordering section, and so it paid for my hot dog. And then he paid for his food, and then I was like, dude, I think you just paid for me. And he was just really nice and said, don't worry about it. I offered to buy him something else, but he just said, hey, don't worry about it. So when I was at that game, I had my luck going. I got a free hot dog, and I won that bet that my friend placed for me. And it was a great time, and the Hornets won. So Kelly Oubre had a lot of points that game. Terry and Gordon had some buckets down the stretch, too, that were good. The defense against the big men stepped up in the second half because they were getting worked by Miles Turner in the first half. People in the crowd were cheering that they can't guard him, so it was pretty crazy. So, pretty exciting game. The Hornets also beat the Mavs in Dallas this week, which is pretty crazy. I think some players got injured before that, but they played the Mavs again in Charlotte today. So, maybe the Hornets will get another dub. All their wins right now are kind of meaningless besides just, good vibes or whatever, but still fun nonetheless. And they do have some good players on their team, so it's fun to watch. It was cool to see some of the Pacers. It was fun to see Buddy Hield. He was fun. He flicked off. He gave the Hornet the middle finger at one point, which I saw. I was wondering if he would get fined or if I'd see some news about that, but I guess it was too small of a thing to to talk about, or I guess no one noticed, but it was pretty funny. He was very animated out there on the court, so it was fun to watch, and he hit some pretty nice threes on Buddy Hield. So it was fun to watch, and there were some people, a few people with Halliburton jerseys in the crowd there in Charlotte. So he was number 0. I kept seeing a lot of number 0 Pacers jerseys. So I looked it up and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that's what Halliburton wears. And I'm pretty sure I saw Halliburton on the sideline and he was like really into it and cheering his teammates. So, pretty cool for Indiana and the Pacers, and happy for him. But I'm happy the Hornets got that win that night. All right, let's keep talking some more hoops. The Atlanta Hawks, the only thing I wanted to say about them is I saw Trey got a technical for throwing the ball at the ref, and he is one technical away from suspension. So, that's just pretty interesting out there. And then the official, let's talk about the World Baseball Classic. So the final of that happened last week. Japan versus USA in the final, and Japan won. Shohei Ohtani struck out Mike Trout to end the game in the 9th, and that was very, very cool. I had a great time watching the World Baseball Classic. Next time that comes on, I'll be hyped for it, and hopefully the U.S. will be in the final again next year, and hopefully they'll win. Or whenever it is next, hopefully they'll win. And then pretty cool, Shohei and Mike Trout are on the same team. In the major leagues, they both play for the Angels, so I bet they'll have a good bit of trash talk to talk about that. But very, very fun. I would say the World Baseball Classic was a massive success this time, and I'll be excited for it in the future. And then the official team of the Dep Lewis Show, the official sport of the Dep Lewis Show, Major League Baseball, and the Atlanta Braves start their season on March 30th against the Nationals at 1:05. I'm going to work a half day at my normal job, and I'm going to watch this, and it's going to be awesome. And the Braves are going to start their quest for another World Series, and I'm so happy about it. I got to find a proper way to watch these games, so I got to figure that out before the end of the week. And I want to see what the Braves are putting down on the field out there. We learned that Vaughn Grissom is not going to start. Braden Shoemake is not going to start either. Orlando Arcia is going to be the shortstop to start the season. Both of those other two guys got sent down to AAA, which was a shocking move that people didn't expect. But Arcia is the veteran. I guess they feel more comfortable with his bat and with his fielding skills possibly. I guess maybe a little bit more of the bat too, but we're going to see. And then the Braves, their last rotation spot was up for grabs, and I don't know if that's been solidified yet. Mike Soroka got to pitch some. Max Fried is going to be our opening day starter on Thursday. So I can't wait. So we're going to be talking. I'll actually have real live baseball games to talk about next week on the show to report back how that's going. So you can expect the Miscellaneous Talk section is going to be a little bit baseball heavy during the season, but that is something I'm very excited for because that might be up there for my, one of my second favorite forms of entertainment. Video games probably is number 1. Sports is probably number 2, maybe a number 1A, I don't know. But baseball is definitely at the top of the sports list for me, so I am excited to watch the Atlanta Braves, watch Ronald Acuna Jr. become the MVP of the NL this year is what I would love, and I am putting that into the ether. So baseball, 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 baseball. You're going to hear a lot of baseball on the Dep Lewis Show. So that's going to wrap up the Miscellaneous Talk section. We talked about some books. We talked about The Lost Metal. We talked about Ready Player One. We talked about I'd Like to Play Alone, Please by Tom Segura. I recommend all 3 of those. We talked about the Carolina Panthers having some positive news and seeming to be going in a positive direction. Charlotte FC is very, very fun, even when they have a tied game. Charlotte Hornets are wrapping up their season but have been having some fight to them. Atlanta Hawks, Trey's getting suspended, or Trey's trying to get suspended. Got text throwing the balls at the ref, can't do that. Atlanta Braves start on Thursday, and the World Baseball Classic was a success. And that is going to wrap up the Miscellaneous Talk section. And then, in turn, that is going to wrap up the Dep Lewis Show, episode 25 for this week. I'd like to thank you so much for listening, as always. One thing I'd like to tell you this week is a disclaimer. I meant to tell you earlier in the show that there will be no clips on YouTube or TikTok this week. I didn't really get any game footage. So I'm just going to skip the week. I'm going to give myself a break. And next week, I'm going to be playing some more games, hopefully. And I'll be getting some footage to show you and put some clips out there for the podcast. But either way, thank you for listening to the main thing that I'm doing here is the podcast. And I really appreciate that the most. And that's the main focus and the thing I like doing. But once a week, it's very, very fun. So the last order of business I want to say is follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Like, subscribe, rate, comment, review, turn on notifications, and tell a friend. Email any questions or feedback to DepLewisShow@gmail.com. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Patreon, and more on my Buzzsprout page. Thank you for listening. As always, you're the best listener out there. And we're going to be back next week for episode 26. So please have a wonderful week. Play some games, watch some sports, have some fun, do something productive. Stay safe, And we'll be back. And stay dangerous. That's the other one. That's what Nipsey Hussle used to say. Stay dangerous. We'll be back next week for another great episode of the Dep Lewis Show, and I will see you then. Bye, listeners.